everybody, and welcome to the New Earth Co-Creators podcast. There are two of us today. The beautiful Isabel is off doing something incredibly fun with, I believe, a lot of children. So we miss you, Isabel. We love you. But of course, I am joined by my favorite Spider-Man, Peter Paul Parker. How are you, Peter?
I'm very good, very well, thank you. We had actually some sun in the UK, in England the other day. So it was like quite an event for us. But yeah, I'm good. Feeling a bit warmer than I did a few months ago. So yeah, it's starting. Spring is finally coming in, which is great. So, but it's still a bit slow.
Yeah, we're having the weird weather, and I feel it because I'm out walking the dogs in the morning and so forth, and it's like 40 something degrees, and it's like pretty much May. It's unheard of. Like everybody here in Nashville is commenting on the strangeness of the weather. Like everybody, there is not one person I've talked to that hasn't, that's here, that's functioning here, that's just not going, what the heck. Now when it's warm, it's lovely because we don't have any humidity and all that kind of stuff, which is fabulous. But having grown up in the Pacific Northwest, in Vancouver, which is I think pretty much on the same geographic line, we have very similar weather to what you have in that I empathize with the gray.
It's really weird weather, yeah, and we've got the Gulf Stream as well, but also everything else that they're doing, like the geoengineering they're doing on the planet as well. It's not helping at all. It's not allowing Earth to come back to heal. It's not allowing Earth to heal, which is what this time is all about. So
it makes you wonder if they want it to, or if they care about it at all. And that brings us right to a beautiful point. We were discussing what we want to talk about today, and I'll own it. I picked the topic today because I was just paying attention to different things that have been happening in the media, and we're part of the media, just doing this,
Yes.
And not mainstream though. We're not part of the mainstream media, but and I really started to look at the level of just bunk, let's call it bunk, that's out there in the world, masquerading as media, and reality check of how much it's affecting us as humanity on this planet. Like how much power are we giving away to the mainstream, to media, to the news, to all of this supposed reporting, which I think is just, here's your script for today. Don't detour, just say the lines as they're written, read it off your teleprompter, just smile and have no opinion. And brought to you by Pfizer, right?
Yes.
It's like, how much is this driving where we're finding ourselves today? What do you think?
It's driving us, all of us, down a slippery slope of fear. It's fear. It's not one incident, but many different incidents of whistleblowers recently that they've said, don't go after what was the whistleblower whistleblowing on. What they said is go after the whistleblower. So what they're not actually looking at anything that the whistleblower might have said about a certain incident. What they're doing is trying to decredit that, decredit the and debunk the whistleblower. And I think this is what has happened to journalists is unbelievable. It's no longer a freedom of press. The press is so controlled and contrived now, and it's just the same narrative. And there's been some really great videos I've seen on, here's a news story, and then you go from one presenter to the next, to the next, to the next, and they're all saying exactly the same thing about the same. There's no dissident voices. There's no differing opinions. It's all the same. It's trying to put this wonderful whitewash over what's really happening in the world. And really, investigation needs to be happening with all of this stuff because there's so much going on behind the scenes, but no one's talking about that. They're just talking about this narrative that we're given and spoon-fed, literally, which scares the living daylights out of us. Now I'm hearing on mainstream radio in the UK the word conspiracy theorists regularly, to say that these people are stupid and they shouldn't be looking into this because the experts are right. What do you think makes an expert? That's a big
Well,
question.
I mean, we could go on YouTube and start to define it that way because everybody's advertising on how to become an expert. And the truth is that, it's like, okay, you can become an expert because you've said you're an expert. I mean, that's pretty much it. And there's so much, like, so many walls and veils and illusions up in the media these days, like all the news channels that have their experts that report on the war or the military or this or that. All of them are in positions where they've come out of the military. They are, aligned with the weapons manufacturing companies. They are very vested in this machine that is economically, trillions of dollars just exchanging hands. I mean, it's business. It's just business. We'll call a spade a spade. That's my humble opinion. Okay. It's business. And, but they don't ever identify their expert that's talking about these things as who they are and where they actually come from. They don't say that this person is connected to the military reality and to the weapons manufacturing and to the business of war. They are never ever transparent about it. It's just so and so the expert that now teaches at Harvard or something like that. They pull something else out and they sorry, see, it agreed with me. You're like, you're right.
Yeah.
They pulled something, they pull it out of something else that they're doing. And then this is what makes this person credible. And they completely hide the agenda that that person has. It's like
Yeah.
when you say brought to you by Pfizer and you laugh, but the reality of the fact that drug companies pay billions of dollars in advertising, Pfizer being prominent amongst that. Who the heck, they can't say anything bad. They can't
Yeah.
report honestly on the companies that are writing their checks.
Yeah. There's no one reporting on, even in this country, what came out of the Office of National Statistics was that there is a distinct and shocking rise in heart issues in people under 35 who have been given the medication for COVID.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be careful what you say because you get banned from all sorts of platforms for speaking about this. But it came out of the Office for National Statistics. And was there anything in our mainstream media about that? Not one thing, because it's all sponsored, like you say, by the people who are producing this, the solutions to these perceived problems.
Right.
And that's another massive issue, is problem reaction solution. Is when you create a problem, or whether the problem's there, you need to find the reaction for the people, and then you offer the solution. Mm-hmm. And the solution is often like gaslighting now, because it's like, oh, you can't think like that because there's something wrong with you if you don't actually see our solution. And that's what's happening to many people. There's what they call cognitive dissonance inside of their head. So when you speak to them about it, they go into like a whitewash of like, wow, kind of stare into space, and you go, wow, are you actually hearing what I'm saying? Are you going to actually look into this, what I'm saying here? Because when you do, you'll start to uncover something that's pretty nefarious, in my opinion, humble opinion. And it's like, wow, what are these people doing? How can they be doing this when there's supposed to be checks and balances, and there's supposed to be a democracy here where people will be saying, well, there's something wrong with this because of this. Right. And they're doing, I think, I'm not sure what the outcome was, but they're actually looking into the response for the COVID response now, the lockdowns and everything like that, because there's, again, figures have come out that are saying that lockdowns were the worst thing that you could have done because it caused more harm than good. Mm-hmm. And that was that actually came out in the mainstream media for a very short while here. I don't know about over there,
this much.
Yeah, then it's gone.
Long, but the story still continues. That's this long. And the thing that's amazing is all this disinformation, right? That's they have this thing now called the Restrictive Act that they've been working on and putting together, right? Yeah, and it's like, so we've got to take all this disinformation down. But what's fascinating is the actual information that is reporting current statistics that are coming from actual vettable, viable sources. Those are the things that are getting taken down. And in the meantime, you can still find all this video by all this media that are absolutely now telling what is literally tantamount to a lie, right? But it's still running. And again, I'm not saying this because this is my opinion. I'm saying this because you can find all the information out there, and the papers have been published by the drug company themselves. So there is nothing to stand up to what is still out there as far as misinformation. But because that misinformation comes from the sources that are supported by the
Mm,
powers that be, that's allowed to remain. And meantime, the people that are actually trying to do stuff to just wake people up, just say, hey, take care of your health, know these things, make these decisions, they're
mm,
being silenced and censored. And
mm.
this whole thing of conspiracy theory, I can remember when I stepped into talk radio for the very first time, in the late 1990s, and it was like the conspiracy was like this hot button. Then they've branded that, they have worked so hard to brand that, so that now if you step outside of this story, it's so easy for them to just say, oh, you're just a conspiracist, which to people, they hear that and that means crazy, automatically means crazy.
Mm,
You're a conspiracist, you're crazy, you're out there, you're woo woo. I am woo woo, but it's like it's not true, it's not. So they've done this thing, and the media has done this.
mm.
Oh, ha ha ha, that's just really crazy. I mean, here we are, and they're broadcasting stuff like, there was the, what was it, what was the show that was done, it was a news show that was on, and the Pentagon, the lady representing the Pentagon, was speaking about the fact that they've never passed an audit, and she's
Yes,
laughing,
I saw that.
laughing about it.
I saw that. That was a left wing, sort of independent journalist, wasn't it, asking her questions about the audit and why the audit didn't go through. I saw that, yeah, and that
There's
was
been a
jaw
couple.
dropping,
It was,
jaw
yeah, and
dropping.
she's just laughing, ha ha ha, like, what are you worried about? Who cares? But it's like billions of dollars, weaponry, all sorts of stuff that we've just sent away, and there's no accounting for any of it. And it's like, that's the thing that blows my mind, is that we've gotten to a place where I believe that there is so much control that somebody in that position of power, which is supposed to be of the people, by the people, for the people, right? It's supposed to be representing us, is laughing literally in our faces and
Mm.
saying, we don't have to be accountable. Like, who are we supposed to answer to? And in fact, I'm not sure if it was the identical interview, maybe it was, that you saw, probably was, but she's laughing and saying, oh, you're just so worried about all the money, aren't you? And it's like, yes, right. Yes, right. There's people here that are dying because they can't afford what they're charging for medicine, right? And the
Yeah.
insurance companies continue to jack up the premiums because they need to get their 15% profit. And the pharmaceutical companies are publicly traded, and everybody needs to make their stock and raise their
Mm,
prices. And they're funding our government. I mean,
mm,
I'm sorry, I'm saying something pretty bold. My observation has been that the corporations are funding our government now. So,
mm.
I guess they feel like they can go on mainstream media and laugh at us if they want to.
Of
And
course I can.
and
Yeah.
and and it's like, and the media continues to, again, that interview is out there, but did it really get prime time? Did it really get a lot of exposure? Did they really say what the heck is going on?
Mm,
No. They
mm.
just continue to talk about, I mean, now the whole pitch in this country is all about how much our government cares about us.
Yeah, I saw that with Joe Biden's latest election campaign, saying how wonderful he thinks the Americans are and how he's got to keep the American way. I thought the American way was for the pursuit of liberty, happiness, and what
Life,
is,
liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Where's that? Where's that gone? It's
Well,
like it
quality
used to
of
be.
life here is teetering very precariously. People don't want to admit it because most people can't believe that it could ever have happened in this country, but it has happened, and very quickly. And
Yeah.
liberty, it's like, that's a massive illusion. It has been for a while, but it is
Mm,
definitely a massive illusion. And the pursuit of happiness, all I see in a lot of people's faces out there is stress. I just see stress. I've mentioned this before, but when my own cat food can go up 100% in less than a year, right?
Yes.
And the
Yes.
last two increases over 4 weeks. From it
Yes.
blew my mind, from 1049 to 1199 to 1349, buying it 3 times over the course of 4 weeks,
Yes.
right? And it's like, and there's no explanation for any of this, but those that are in power are trying to say, oh, we've tried so hard to stop this from happening. It's like, you created this. Like, that's the part that I can't, who's in charge? Right? Who's in charge? Like, what are they trying to say here? And why are we believing them?
As I say, I have been speaking to somebody who does work in a big corporation. It's like how they work it is like she called it like a matrix type system where nobody is ultimately responsible for anything. Nobody's responsible for anything. And that's how the political structure has worked. And that's one of the reasons I wanted the UK out of the European Union, but it didn't matter anyway, because we've still got these people who just won't take responsibility for anything. Mm-hmm. But that was one of the big things, that none of them take responsibility for anything. They always shunt the blame onto somebody else. And I find that terrible. The reason you should be going into government is really to help the people, and you should be accountable for your actions, even when you get lobbied, which is what's happening now. I remember when it was called Quangos back when I was at school doing this. For some reason, I did politics at A level. I hate politics, economics and politics.
But for some reason, you did it. Yes.
But I think the reason is because of what I see now, how I see into it. And I really put my hand up then in school and said, I don't agree with Quangos. Quangos are now, they're called non-government organizations, and they lobby certain politicians for certain outcomes. And I go, that's wrong, because obviously they're going to have more power, or there's so much more easily corrupted than an individual trying to speak to their politician to say, look, we want this as the people on the ground. Where they're going to go? They're going to go with the people who are not going to give them anything, or they're going to go with the Quangos, which is the NGOs now. They're going to go with the money, and they all do. And they do investigate occasionally in the UK in the Parliament, but it comes out and somebody's had their hands in the till, the feeding out of the trough, and then it just disappears and it just goes back to business as usual. Mm-hmm. There is systemic corruption. I feel it's systemic corruption. They're protecting a system that is just so badly broken, but if they lose that system, they can't feed from it anymore. So therefore, they're literally just protecting their interests. And I feel there is also a nefarious thing behind it. Even when you go a little bit deeper, it seems like there's almost like a psychotic type of feeling to it of, if I don't get this, I'm going to wreck everything type thing, which is, to me, is like the issuance of the money, which is the banking system, which is America. If you just look at the battle that they've had to keep a central bank out of their country since breaking away from the British, the Bank of England, when they broke away from the Bank of England, because they didn't want to have somebody controlling their money supply, which I thought the founding fathers were very on the ball there. And then the battle that came in, and the Creatures of Jekyll Island, all these wonderful books that you can read about the battle for it to come back in, and all the propaganda that was thrown in the press to bring that out. I think this is where the main issue is. I think it's the issue of currency and credit, which it all goes back to that, because these people now get the governments to create the money that we have to pay back, and they build their businesses on that money. They get all the profit. None of it comes back to the people, so all that money gets lost. And this is with the wars, the pharmaceuticals, all the big businesses. Food now is coming into food, which is what I'm worried about.
Yeah, it is coming into food in a big way. And there's a lot of things going on. And yet the media, again, is not talking about any of it. They're just, talking about something else. They'd rather talk about the color that the shoes were that somebody wore in depth and detail and how ridiculous that was than they would talk about any of this. And here's the thing. I don't inherently believe that people go into the system thinking that they're going to be corrupt and greedy and power hungry. I think that we're dealing with individuals who have been called and cultivated for this. They've been primed, they've been trained, they've been indoctrinated, and then put in positions of power. Trudeau in Canada being one, your current appointed prime minister being another. They're coming out of the system of the World Economic Forum, being groomed for these positions. So they literally are thinking a particular way because they've been literally programmed to think that way, right? And then you've also got people that enter into politics with the right idea, with the right intention, with the idea like I really want to make a difference, and they get painted into corners because it's like, oh, there's something they really want. Well, if you really want that, we'll give you that, but you have to give us this. And before they know it, they're tied up in a knot because in order to get anything going, they have to make all of these other deals, which then money starts filtering in, and eventually they're caught. They're caught inside a system that works that way, right? That's the way it works. And the only way sometimes to fix something like, okay, who goes into a really old house that's falling down, that's got holes in the walls, holes in the floors, that, and just starts to patch them up and put new carpet down, right? Nobody does that. Why? Because the house is rotten. It's going to fall down. What do? They tear it down and they build something new. And that's ultimately what I believe has to happen, as terrifying to many people as that might be, because like, oh my gosh, how do we do that? And it's like, I'm not talking about any particular structure at this moment when I say that. I'm just saying when we come in and we talk about community and we talk about how do we come together, and when we talk about these things, this is the beginning of that. If we can't come together, then we're just really in a very precarious position, because we're literally at the receiving end of whatever they, quote unquote, are deciding. And they're doing it with just such entitlement, because I believe that they literally, I believe that they're feeling untouchable. I really do. I feel like they're feeling like that's it, because who do they answer to, right? I can't speak for the UK, but I can speak for here in North America, right? There is nobody that our political structure answers to. There's nobody, nothing. They do whatever the heck they want, and they go, oh, bad, 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 oh, wah, right? Like there's nothing. They don't, if they get that, we're lucky. They just continue on. And so I guess after decades of that being a truth, why wouldn't they feel like we can do whatever we want whenever we want it? All in the name of good, though, please. Like all this idea of like, we're going to change everything to digital currency. Isn't that supposed to be for our safety? It's like, we have to wake up, right? Like,
yeah.
This is all about control. They've got kill switches in all the new cars now. Oh, this is an anti-theft device. Well, maybe it will act as an anti-theft device, but guess what? It also acts like, we don't approve of what we're doing. Kill your car, get rid of your bank account. You now have had your life taken.
Yeah.
You're still here, but you have nothing, because they can push a button and do that. Now, I don't necessarily support moving into that type of reality in my world. My world is my world. I'm here creating it. So when I speak that, I don't mean to speak fear to anybody. I just mean to say, like, there's a timeline where these things exist. And we cannot pretend that if we just focus on sunshine and butterflies, that we're going to get sunshine and butterflies without interruption, right? It's like there is, for in many ways we're in a very bizarre type of war, right? It's just very different to anything we've ever been in before, and we're literally like the currency that's being affected. So I'll stop talking so you can.
You're right. This is the Third World War. We're right in the heart of it, right in the middle of it, and it's been waged for many years. I feel that it's trying, like everything else, what's being attempted to happen is to stop the natural astrological change that's coming. I.e., they want to keep this the Pisces energy which is all about, if you look it up, it's all about the fish and the deceit. It is about the fish, but it's all about deceit, corruption, undercover. And the reason
Not offensive to
Christianity,
Piscean people. My mother was a Pisces. I adore
nothing
her.
wrong with Piscean
No,
people,
no,
nothing wrong whatsoever.
it's nothing to do with that.
And there's nothing wrong with the age of Pisces. It's just this is what energy can come to the fore. I mean, the age of Aquarius, again, you can have negative energy coming to the fore, but they're trying to stop this because this is how they've been going for thousands of years. If you think about the fish sign, that comes from the age of Pisces, and Christianity curtailed it so that they could use that energy.
Well, pacifism, right?
Yeah.
If you had the fish on your door, you were a pacifist.
Yes, yes. So they've changed all of that. They've twisted it and inverted it and everything like that. So we've been, the thing is with the UK is they are masters at this because this is where this all came from in the first place, really. And this is where it's got worse and worse and worse. And I think it was Benjamin Franklin came over here just before they were the founding fathers of America, just to make sure that he was correct. He came over here to visit London, and he couldn't believe the difference between the poor people living in literal squalor and the rich living in these beautiful big streets going through London. He couldn't believe that. So he shot straight back to America. So we got to do this because we can't carry on like this. So they saw that at that point. And I think since then, there's been a movement for more and more people like myself. I didn't see it at first, and now I'm seeing it very clearly, of waking up and seeing this, and then realizing I've got to reach out to more people and try and collaborate more with people, which is what we're doing. And now when I'm speaking with you, now we met on the podcast, and now we're starting to collaborate. I'm doing that with other people as well in smaller ways, but I'm just saying, hey, come on, let's do something. And more people who are aligned to this are opening up. Mm-hmm. Other people who aren't aligned to it go, no, this is mine. This is all mine. I've worked on this all my life. You can't have it. I'm thinking, you share, we're here to share, but we're here to work this out as well. And I feel there is an enormous divide. And that divide, when they see this brave new world that's coming, they will start to filter across to the other side of this, and you will start to see more people who you wouldn't think would walk across the gallery to this thing that we're creating now. You'd say, wow. Well, I've seen that already with YouTube videos. I found them quite funny when people say, yeah, I used to be a liberal, but I woke up.
Right. Right. And we're not talking about woke here. We're talking about waking up, which is a different, the terminology of woke is out there now. And, I mean, whatever that is, it's what we're really talking about here is, at the end of the day, how do we come together? How do we put aside all of the noise and recognize that, we are far more alike than we are different.
Yes.
It doesn't matter where we come from. It doesn't matter the color of our skin. It doesn't matter our socioeconomic status. We are far more alike than we are anything else. And we have a voice. We have a point, we have a purpose, and it's not just to fall in line and quietly, march our way into the end. That's not what it is. And we are being challenged like never really before, with the sheer amount of people, with the what's happening for this whole idea of global government and control and technology being used in supposedly really great, helpful ways, that if you look past what is the perk and the pros and cons, you can very quickly figure out that all these things, like when they were chipping people, putting implants in people in the name of health, right? Everybody's, oh, it's cool, and I don't have to use a key anymore. I can unlock my door with this chip. And it's like, like, but that chip is like, it's so much more than just I can unlock my door, because my gosh, how hard it is to take my keys. It's like they're just grooming us. It's just, here, just listen, we've got you, it's all right. And the mainstream media, because of who writes their paychecks at the end of the day, is now part of that whole matrix, right? Word, part of that whole matrix. And they've shown in so many studies that individuals will believe perceived experts. They'll believe them
Mm, mm.
because they're perceived experts. We have to start questioning everybody that's in authority. I'm not saying be disrespectful. I'm not saying, let's, rise up in fury. I'm saying let's question authority. Let's come together and agree to disagree with respect and find our common ground and truly come unity, right? Create community where we can begin to decide, do we really believe in what's happening, or would we like to see something different? Because when we get enough of us together, and I don't know what that magic number is, I just know it's enough, right?
Mm.
Change becomes entirely ours to have, right?
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
certainly we can do better. We can do better than this. I know we can.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you can get any worse. But the thing is, with the chip, the microchip, what people are starting to realize is the nature of our reality, which is important to really get inside of your head, because we are vibration, right, and frequencies, and those little chips, they can send out frequencies. So
Mhm.
therefore, they can make you feel unhappy. They can make you feel happy. They can make you feel like stressed or anxious. They can, because of the frequencies, I'm sure they'll be able to raise your heartbeat or slow it down, whatever they want to do with
Just
you.
zone you out, right?
100% in control of you with the chip in your arm. 100% in control of you. Do you want that? Do you want somebody, even if you believe that these people are beneficial to you, do you want somebody to have the ability to get into where the chips are controlled from to control you? Even if you think the people who are running the show are benevolent, what about somebody nefarious hijacking that, which is a lot easier to do with, say, Wi-Fi and things like that? People can hack into that system really easily, and therefore they gain complete control of you. And that is, to me, well, no, I don't want that at all. Even if I thought they were benevolent, and people are not really getting that. They're not really getting. Also, the TV.
Because there's no investigative reporters that are reporting it other than people outside of the mainstream who
Yeah.
are finding their little pieces on Rumble or Gab or whatever, where they're able to give a little bit, at least for now. But people also have to realize, like, if you don't like what somebody's saying, it really should not be okay with you that you're fine with the powers that be saying, oh yeah, shut them up. We don't want to hear that, right?
Mm,
Because we have to wake up and realize, if you're thinking it's fine because I don't like what they have to say, they can shut up. Please understand, if you support that, you're literally supporting your freedom of speech going away, because when you want to say something that you really like, you're going to be told to shut up too. In the simplest
mm,
form, that's what we're talking about. See what
mm.
happens, Isabel, when you're not here? She's probably like, what were you guys talking about? But I know she would be agreeing with us as well. So
There's a really important
we've
point
got
I've
like
got
2 minutes.
Okay, I'll do it as quick as I can. When I went to protest something being built, like one of those anaerobic digesters being built in Charlton Village, I went to help a friend, and there was 3 independent experts on the panel who were talking why this was safe, and all 3 of them actually ex-employees with the company who were putting
Of course.
I just put my hand up and said, this is a conflict of interest from the start, and who knows what these people are doing and how much pollution it's going to give out, because these people aren't straight. And
No
nobody,
transparency. Yeah.
nobody,
Mhm.
nobody really looked it up, or apart from a few small people. But so it all went through anyway. But you're thinking, wake up! These people are affecting your lives now, pretty
But if we
seriously.
have a generation of people here in the US anyway that were raised getting trophies just for showing up, right?
Yeah,
And isn't
yeah.
it interesting how, like, oh, well, I don't have to do anything, right? So you look at, like, wow, maybe that was a cultivation. So we're running out of time. We have to continue this conversation. To all who are there, please go to newearthcc.org, newearthcc.org, and also the Conscious Muse collective.com, consciousmusecollective.com. Get onto our social media. We're linking things together. We are doing live meditation on Tuesdays at, I can't think of the timeline right now.
6 p.m. UK time. I think it's 12 noon.
I think it's 12 noon Central time. And these are short, sweet, if you're going to, heal the planet type ideas, join us. As always, Peter, I adore you. Hugs
Big
to
love to you.
everybody. Remember,
Virtual hug.
together
Yeah.
we rise. Okay, peace. Visit us at newearthcc.org.